Hello and welcome to today's Wisdom Wednesday. I'm Dr. Susanna Alter.
And I'm Dr. Ben.
And we're both naturopathic doctors who empower individuals to heal themselves with whole food, plant-based nutrition, and mind-body medicine.
So we're excited about today's Wisdom Wednesday episode. It's going to be a good one because I think that this is a pretty interesting topic, the topic of an emotional hangover. And as far as I know, have you heard it said or talked about before me?
No.
I'll take the credit for coining this phrase. And it's just what it sounds. And I think, well, actually, as we were coming to share, Susanna was like, well, I'll let you talk about this because I don't ever really feel an emotional hangover. And I was just like, what are you talking about?
I used to, but I feel like it is more of a thing of the distant past.
Yeah. And I guess I have more of a direct experience or memory of these emotional hangovers. And that is certainly not to say that they don't happen. But it's that just what it sounds like, right? It's just that lingering kind of, lousy feeling, toxic feeling that it's there, but it's like we acknowledge that we're kind of dragging ourselves through it. It's kind of like, why am I still holding on to that? Why am I still holding on to that experience, that feeling of the past, of what that conversation, of that text message, of that Facebook comment, of that argument that I had over Thanksgiving dinner that didn't happen yet. Just kidding. But anyways, like we have stuff, we have thoughts, we have experiences, and then we have this lingering experience that, what do we have that for?
Well, it's interesting how you just defined it, because I actually had a different understanding of what an emotional hangover is. So my understanding is that an emotional hangover is definitely that kind of lingering, that hanging on to an event that just happened, but that the event that just happened was, kind of a big wave of strong emotion, whether it was anger or whether it was sadness or whether it was insecurity or feeling ashamed of yourself, or whatever the flavor of the emotion, that after a really big kind of storm of the emotion, there's this kind of like the next day you're kind of just, you feel hungover from it, and you're still like kind of in it and maybe kind of hanging on to, or you're judging. That's what it is. You're judging yourself for having had the emotional experience.
Well, let's talk about what it is. But no, I think we're on the same wavelength about what it is. It's like something happens, and just so we are all on the same page here, when we say something happens, I'm glad that you used the terminology that you did. The emotional experience happens. The inside emotional experience happens. Because I got on that slippery slope by talking about, the arguments and the text message, because that isn't what causes the emotional upset, right? What causes the emotional upset is, and always has been, our interpretation, our perspective, our thoughts, and the labeling and the meaning that we give to our thoughts around what happens in the outside world, right? So it's an internally generated phenomenon, our emotional experience. And then our hangover is that lingering judgment, those lingering thoughts, those lingering feelings. Because let's face it, when we do have an argument, when we are in the midst of that thought storm, like we like to say, or shit storm, or whatever it looks like or feels like, and it's like, yeah, we're in it. But then it's like, okay, we drive away, we go to sleep, we have dinner, we go on and live our lives, but we're still feeling the residue. We're still feeling the lingering ickiness, the stewing in that. And yes, I have had a long history of emotional hangovers, and really they would last anywhere from days to weeks. I would have like a fight or an argument or judge myself or feel shameful. And then I would be stewing in that experience for days to weeks. And it didn't feel good. It never does. It didn't feel good in the moment. And then it certainly didn't feel any better as I dragged myself through those thoughts for so much longer than I needed to. And I think for the longest time for me, I was like, what is wrong with me? Why am I stewing in this? Why did I do that in the first place? Like, why did I, ultimately this kind of tangled mess of self-judgment. And then I would drag myself through it. And really without even trying anything, without even intentionally, consciously changing anything, I've noticed how the magnitude of emotional reaction, if you will, doesn't really change that much. I'm still kind of a fiery, passionate kind of guy, and I get upset. I lose my cool. I still have self-conscious, insecure thinking for sure. Like there's no way around that. And anyone who says that they're just peaceful thinkers 100% of the time, yeah, right. Prove it. Anyways, that's beyond the point. But the fact is that like now, what leads to less of an emotional hangover in my experience is really quite simply living more in the present moment, right? I'm so much more in the present moment with my emotional upset. And then I'm in the present moment when that emotional upset is in the rearview mirror, right? Because we all human beings innocently have this tendency to look back and try to see what went wrong and see how we could have done differently or could have fixed it or don't want to ever do that again. So we got to study it and dissect it and unpack it and heal it and figure out just exactly what to do moving forward to never do that again. The fact is that gets really kind of slippery and messy real quick. And what really leads to reliable peace and reliable understanding and reliable insight is being in the present moment, and the fact is in the present moment, there often is not the mumble jumble thinking, but that tendency for me to drag that mumble jumble thinking days and weeks in the future, totally unnecessary, 100% self-induced suffering. And once you realize like, oh, I'm doing that to myself, once you start really taking that full-on self-responsibility for not only the incident, quote unquote, if you will, but the prolonged experience, then it just makes complete common sense to stop with the self-judgment. It's so unproductive. And that's not to say like, oh, I judge myself for judging myself, right? Oh, I can't believe I felt this emotional hangover for 2 days or 1 week or 5 minutes. But we arrive in the present moment. We come launching out of our thinking, launching out of the thought storm, stroke of insight in the present moment, and then voila, clarity, right? And then we never go back. That's the thing. I think there was this desire, again, innocent human desire to never, ever do that quote unquote wrong, horrible, awful thinking, judgment incident again. So you go back and try to figure out what you did so you never do it again. But that doesn't lead to the reliable peace. So that's my experience of that emotional hangover. And needless to say, just like I'll reiterate the fact that very much is, emotional upset. And there are, all flavors of that in life. And life isn't about avoiding the intense emotions, right? But as we intellectually know, it's about feeling them fully, but then letting them pass, right? Not getting hung up with them and going down that river, down that rabbit hole unnecessarily, allowing ourselves to be launched back into the present moment and there's no, hopefully not too much residue or lingering judgment. And if there is, we're responsible for it. And then we can recognize that and let ourselves off the hook, right?
Yes. Well, I'll add to this. You were talking about how being present with ourselves is really one way that we can let go of the emotional hangover. And then you started talking about how letting go of the self-judgment's a big piece. For me, I really feel as though, well, yes, being in the present moment, yes. But really more so, it seemed like for me at least, my past emotional hangovers really were about judging myself for just having had felt anger, having felt jealousy, having felt whatever icky emotion that I judged as being wrong. I think it's really easy for us to pick and choose certain emotions that are not okay to have, right? And really, I think that what helps these emotional hangovers not be is that simple, unconditional loving and acceptance of our humanness, that we're going to experience emotions. We innocently do when we buy into our thinking, when we believe our thinking to be true. That's what creates that emotional human experience. And that's actually what makes, I think, living beautiful, to have these emotions, to ride the wave. While it might not feel enjoyable at the time, but yes, when we really just accept ourselves for being human and know that from time to time we are going to fall into our thinking, we are going to fall into an emotional state, and not judging that, then that brings us to the present moment, and there's nothing to stew over. And I think where I felt this most recently was last weekend. I think it was last weekend. I don't know. We had a little moment where I got really frustrated. Yeah, but this one stands out. I got really frustrated. You got really frustrated. It was when I was about to go out the door for a run. And in the past, I feel like if we were to have an exchange like that, where we are going back and forth, there not only would have been more judgment on myself for, oh gosh, Susanna, why couldn't you just keep your cool? Why did you have to blurt that out? Gosh, Susanna, why did you take the bait? But there's also more judgment of you, and there's more of keeping you on the hook and waiting for some apology or waiting for something from you. And I think the gift of accepting our humanness, another gift of accepting our humanness, is that we also allow that humanness for others. And that allows, in relationships, it allows us to get over stuff a lot faster and not hold on to grudges. And
we were talking earlier about kind of the expectations that we hold for ourselves. It's like, okay, well, other people can get upset, but no. And I got to walk perfectly in life. I can't allow myself any leeway in being human. And really, one of the most important and powerful messages, I believe, is really normalizing the full spectrum of the human experience, because we're so quick to judge, oh, this, like you were saying, these flavors of thinking and feeling are okay, but once you get over that line, then it becomes kind of pathologic and we got to worry about it. But the fact is, it's all healthy, it's all normal. And the only thing that is quote unquote unhealthy, but at the same time very normal also, is that innocent self-judgment. So it's like, oh, recognizing our shared humanity is so powerful. And we're also talking earlier about diarrhea and about how, when we have physical diarrhea, it's like, okay, you stop eating the food that gives you physical diarrhea. And when we have this diarrhea storm in our mental emotional realm, it's like we stop identifying with those false thoughts, false beliefs, and we jump out of that rabbit hole, jump back into the present moment. And that's the anecdote, if you will, to the mental diarrhea or the emotional hangover, or the prolonged unnecessary suffering that really is, a choice to what extent we drag ourselves through. Well, thanks for hanging with us for another Wisdom Wednesday episode of the Alter Your Health podcast here. And just a quick announcement, if you'd like to join conversations in mind, thought, and consciousness, and have these kind of deeper conversations, check out the Peace on Earth program that we offer here at Alter Health on a sliding scale. Also, Alter Health is making some moves and shifts in the direction of Telegram. Got our Telegram channel that we're excited about, sharing more content there. t.me/alterhealth, as well as locals, alterhealth.locals.com. Come over to those communities if you are so intrigued. Any other announcements or thoughts, Susanna?
That's it for now.
Thanks for hanging with us as always, and we wish you a peaceful rest of your day, morning, evening, wherever you are.
Bye for now.